For 13 days, the fate of the entire world hung by a thread so thin that one wrong decision could have erased millions of lives in minutes. In October 1962, a routine American reconnaissance flight over Cuba captured images that would shock the highest levels of government. What analysts saw were unmistakable Soviet nuclear missile sites under construction, capable of striking major U.S. cities within minutes. When President John F. Kennedy was shown the photographs, the room fell into a heavy, suffocating silence. This was no longer a distant Cold War tension, it was a direct and immediate threat. Across the ocean, Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev believed he was making a bold strategic move. By placing missiles in Cuba, he aimed to counterbalance the United States' nuclear advantage and protect the revolutionary government of Fidel Castro. To him, it was a calculated risk. To the Americans, it was an act of aggression that could not go unanswered. Inside the White House, Kennedy assembled a group of his most trusted advisors, known as ex-com. The debates were intense, emotional, and often divided. Some military leaders pushed for immediate airstrikes and a full-scale invasion of Cuba. They argued that delay would only strengthen the Soviet position. Others warned that such actions could trigger a chain reaction leading to nuclear war with the Soviet Union. Kennedy listened carefully, understanding that every option carried unimaginable consequences. Instead of launching an attack, Kennedy chose a different path: a naval blockade, which he carefully labeled a quarantine to avoid the legal implications of war. U.S. Navy ships were deployed to stop Soviet vessels from delivering additional military supplies to Cuba. As the line was drawn across the ocean, the world watched in fear. Soviet ships continued moving toward the blockade zone, and the question echoed across continents: would they stop? Or would they challenge the United States? Families across America stocked up on food and prepared fallout shelters. School children practiced duck and cover drills, not fully understanding the magnitude of the danger. In Cuba, tensions were equally high, with citizens bracing for a possible invasion. The atmosphere everywhere was thick with anxiety, as if the entire planet was holding its breath. Then came the most dangerous moment. A US U-2 spy plane was shot down over Cuba, killing the pilot. Military commanders urged immediate retaliation, seeing it as an act of war. Kennedy faced enormous pressure, but he hesitated. He knew that a single retaliatory strike could ignite a nuclear exchange that neither side could control. Behind the scenes, a different battle was unfolding, one of words, diplomacy, and secret messages. Khrushchev sent letters to Kennedy, some conciliatory, others more aggressive, reflecting the internal struggles within the Soviet leadership. In one message, he offered to remove the missiles if the United States promised not to invade Cuba. In another, he demanded the removal of American missiles from Turkey. Time was running out. The world stood closer to nuclear war than ever before. Yet, in a moment that would define history, Kennedy chose restraint over aggression. He publicly accepted the first offer while secretly agreeing to the second condition regarding Turkey. Slowly, the tension began to ease. Soviet ships turned back. Missile sites in Cuba were dismantled. What could have been the end of civilization instead became a powerful lesson in leadership, communication, and the terrifying reality of nuclear weapons. Those 13 days, now known as the Cuban Missile Crisis, remain one of the most dangerous moments in human history, a chilling reminder of how close the world came to destruction, and how fragile peace truly is. The world had stepped back from the brink, but the danger was far from over. Even as Soviet ships turned away from the American quarantine line, inside Cuba, the situation remained volatile and unpredictable. President John F. Kennedy knew that a single misunderstanding could still ignite the catastrophe everyone feared. Surveillance flights continued over Cuba, capturing new images daily, searching for any sign that the missiles were not being removed as promised. On the other side, Nikita Khrushchev faced intense pressure from his own military commanders and political allies. Many believed he had backed down too easily, risking the Soviet Union's global reputation. But Khrushchev understood something deeper. He had seen how close they had come to a nuclear exchange, and he knew that continuing the confrontation could mean the end of millions of lives, including his own people. Meanwhile, in Cuba, Fidel Castro was furious. He had not been fully included in the negotiations between the United States and the Soviet Union, and he felt betrayed. Castro feared that Cuba had become nothing more than a pawn in a superpower struggle. He even urged the Soviets to consider a nuclear strike if the US invaded, an idea that horrified both Washington and Moscow. Back in Washington, the tension inside the White House had not faded. Kennedy and his advisors questioned whether the Soviets were truly committed to removing all offensive weapons. There were also reports that some missile sites were still operational. The uncertainty was dangerous. Every new intelligence report was analyzed with extreme caution. Then came another chilling revelation unknown to the United States at the time. Soviet forces in Cuba had already deployed tactical nuclear weapons, ready for use if an invasion occurred. Local commanders had the authority to use them under certain conditions. This meant that if the US had launched an attack, nuclear war might have begun not in Moscow or Washington but directly on Cuban soil. At sea, American naval forces continued to enforce the blockade. Submarines moved silently beneath the surface, some of them armed with nuclear torpedoes. In one tense encounter, US forces dropped warning depth charges near a Soviet submarine, unaware that it carried nuclear weapons. Inside the submarine, the crew believed war might have already started. One officer argued for launching the nuclear torpedo. Only the calm decision of another officer prevented what could have been the first nuclear strike of the crisis. As days passed, dismantling of the missile sites finally became visible. US reconnaissance confirmed that launchers were being taken apart and missiles loaded onto ships. Slowly, cautiously, the crisis began to ease in a way that felt almost unreal after such intense fear. Behind the scenes, a quiet but critical agreement was being fulfilled. The United States began the secret process of removing its nuclear missiles from Turkey, something that had been a key demand of Khrushchev but was never publicly acknowledged at the time. This hidden compromise helped both leaders claim a form of victory without escalating tensions further. The aftermath of the crisis reshaped the world in ways few people immediately understood. Communication between the two superpowers had proven dangerously slow and unreliable. To prevent future misunderstandings, a direct hotline was established between Washington and Moscow, allowing leaders to communicate instantly during crises. For Kennedy, the experience left a lasting mark. He became more cautious about military advice and more committed to avoiding nuclear confrontation. For Khrushchev, the crisis weakened his political standing, eventually contributing to his removal from power. And for the world, the Cuban Missile Crisis became a haunting lesson, proof that humanity had come within a breath of destroying itself. Yet perhaps the most unsettling truth remained hidden for years. The world had not just been close to nuclear war, it had unknowingly stood at the edge of multiple moments where a single decision, by a single person, could have changed history forever.